All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 11 o'clock a.m. Welcome back to another week of the Debt Acceleration Q&A. My name is Sam Kwak, one of the Kwak Brothers. If you're brand new to the show, this is a show where I get to answer your question about debt acceleration, a little bit of real estate investing, although that's Daniel's corner of things. But since Daniel isn't here, I'll be able to answer some of it, and you can go into first some of the questions that you may have for Daniel the following week. But super excited that you guys are here. If you guys are a part of our program or part of our course, you guys have the hotline to call, which you can call in and it will notify me, and I'll be able to have a conversation with you guys. If you guys are not part of our program, which I suggest you guys consider taking advantage of our program and as well as our courses. If you guys are not part of our program, you can always go ahead and ask your question in the chat box. You guys can go and do that, and I'll be more than happy to answer questions. So this is all about Debt Free Accelerator program, Debt Free Acceleration strategy, and one of the things that I like to do in the beginning of the show is share with you guys the common questions that I've been getting in the past week. In the past week, the number one question that I've been getting is, Sam, why not we just throw in extra money? Why don't we just take whatever we have extra and throw it into the mortgage principal balance? Well, there's a couple reasons why I'm not a big fan of that, and I'm not telling you guys that it doesn't work. Okay, putting extra money into the principal balance of the mortgage does work, but it restricts you and sort of ties you into less flexibility. And here's what I mean by that. So when you do an extra payment into the mortgage, let's say you throw whatever's left over that you have at the end of the month into the mortgage. What tends to happen is, let's say, an emergency happens, right? Down the road, life happens. Let's say you get into a car accident, which I sincerely don't want, would not wish that you get into a car accident. Okay, that's not what I'm saying here. But let's say you do. Okay, life happens. Accidents can happen all the time. Let's say you get into an accident and you have to cover the hospital bill. Hopefully you have insurance. Hopefully you have a decent coverage. Now, let's say you don't. You're going to have to go and find that money somewhere, right? And by throwing extra into the mortgage, you wouldn't have that extra money saved up for a life accident. Now, versus if you were to use a home equity line of credit or any line of credit and threw all of your extra into the line of credit, you can access that money again from the line of credit. Now, of course, the rebuttal that I get quite a bit from people that I suggest using this method is, well, they say, Sam, that's why we have 6 months of savings so that we can cover these types of expenses. Well, my counter rebuttal to that is, why not just take the 6 months of savings that you have, throw it into the home equity line of credit, thus saving you even more money down the road, right? Because having a savings account in your savings, your savings in a savings account probably could only earn you about 1 or 2%, right? If you're lucky, you're probably getting 3%, but you're likely to get anywhere between 1 to 2% in your savings account, and you're not earning that much, right? Because inflation right now is about 2%. So really, you're not doing anything with it. But if you go and take that same amount and throw it in the home equity line of credit, not only are you chunking down the principal balance of the line of credit and saving you money on the interest, but you still have access to those principal amount for later use for life accidents or whatever may happen. So you want to use the full capacity of your savings, your income, and that's another thing. Instead of doing extra into the home equity line of credit, throwing all of your income to the line of credit while still giving you the access to the money not only saves you interest down the road, but also gives you even more flexibility and even more safety down the road. So you got to understand the strategy fully before you can make a fair comparison between using just doing the extra into the mortgage versus using the strategy. In fact, we just updated our calculator, our Excel calculator, to show you the comparison. We'll show you just throwing the extra versus using the strategy, and 9 times out of 10, doing our strategy always wins. So take a look at the calculator. The numbers don't lie. Okay, I can be here, claim all the things that I want to claim, but obviously if the numbers don't support it, I'm in the wrong. So go and check out the Excel calculator. We just updated it. Go and see it, and you'll be able to see the comparison. Okay, let's go and take some questions. With the okay, so we don't have much questions. It's Finale is saying totally worth it. Just signed up a few days ago. learned so much already. So Fernelli is one of our students, part of our course, and you can see here that Fernelli is getting a lot of value out of it. So guys, go and ask your question, whether it's real estate investing, mortgage acceleration, debt acceleration, velocity banking. We're gonna figure out how to make that name just one instead of having multiple names. But go ahead and shoot your questions, guys, and I'll be more than happy to answer. And again, if you're part of our course, if you're part of our program, you guys should all have the hotline to call our phone here, and I'll be able to answer your question in real time instead of typing it into the computer. So go ahead, guys, fire away your question. I'm here to answer it till 12 p.m. Central Time. We usually do the show for about an hour. We're only 5 minutes in, so. Which, by the way, guys, interesting news, and this is something that you should pay attention to, is that the Federal Reserve is meeting today. The Federal Reserve is the United States central banking system where they control our interest rates. And they are meeting today, and supposedly there's a rumor that, or speculation that the Federal Reserve is looking to lower the interest rate. Now, last year, 2018, they raised the interest rate 4 times. Each time they raised by 0.25%. So over the last year, in 2018 alone, Federal Reserve raised the interest rate by a whole 1%, which 1% doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it does quite a ripple effect in the economy. So right now, the Federal Reserve might be meeting today, or they are meeting today, but the topic at hand might be a talks of lowering the interest rate, which should be interesting. This type of stuff signals that there could be a slowdown in the market, and they're looking to sort of stimulate the market. So we'll see what happens today. By the end of today, we should have some sort of headline from Wall Street Journal or some of the major news outlets. Okay. AG47, which now I know it's silver. How much money should you leave in the line of credit at the end of the month to pay down the quickest? So, I mean, really, it's whatever your positive cash flowing. So whatever you want to leave in the home equity line of credit, I would say leave however much you can. Your home equity line of credit is essentially now your checking account and also your savings account. So imagine whatever's left over, your savings, you can leave it on your home equity line of credit, saving you interest, but still giving you the liquidity that you need for future use. So that's what I would do. Now, if you are a part of our program, we do teach a concept called cash flow recovery, where it's going to give you even more to save and to throw into the home equity line of credit. This is especially useful when you live paycheck to paycheck. I know MSNBC did a report about a year ago that almost 75% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So that means every 3 out of 4 of you guys live paycheck to paycheck. So this strategy can help you get out of the paycheck to paycheck mode with the concept called cash flow recovery, which is going to show you guys how to get more cash flow, positive cash flow, and that is your income minus expenses. We want to have more of the net income coming in. Okay. Where can I get? Okay, so before that, I'm gonna answer Carol's question. What credit score do you need for a HELOC? So. Great question. So let me kind of dispel the rumor about credit score right now. Credit score, just giving you a backdrop story. Credit scores, guys, do not approve you for any type of loan. It does not, okay? Credit score loan does not approve you for any loan, but it does deny you right away. It's kind of like the college entrance exams, like ACT or SAT. Colleges may look at it and say, you know what, you need to have at least 32 in your ACT, or I don't know what the score range for SAT is. That just goes to tell you I was terrible at it. But let's say the college says you need 32 score in your ACT for us to even consider your application. So any prospective students with less than 32 in ACT score, they get automatic denied. But anyone who's got more than 32 doesn't mean that they are automatically approved or automatically enrolled in the school. They're gonna get further consideration. They want to see the other grades, other stuff. So when it comes to credit score, sure, there's a certain threshold to where you sort of want to be in that zone, but credit score alone doesn't necessarily approve you. So what that basically means is that if you have 680, 690 credit score, sort of borderline to 700, doesn't mean that you're gonna get disqualified. It just means that they're gonna have to go and take a look at other things, other supporting documents such as your tax returns, your bank statements. They're gonna want to take a look at different things so that they could sort of measure you as a big picture as a whole. Now, of course, if you have over 720 or 730 credit score, it's a little easier because they can sort of factor that in as a positive. So credit score alone will not approve you guys. Just make sure that you guys understand this. Credit score will get you into that place where the banks and the lenders will start to consider you. Now, what credit score is good? Well, it depends on the banks. Certain banks will look at anywhere between 680 and up. Certain banks will want you to have at least 720. Some banks are okay with having 650. Some banks want you to have perfect 740 or perfect 850, 900 range. So it really depends on the banks. But typically, if you want to be in the safe zone, anywhere above 700 will probably put you in a good place. Even if you're below 700, don't worry, there's still hope. Doesn't mean that, excuse me, doesn't mean that you're completely out of option. Cool? All right, guys. So Carol, I hope that answers your question. Dragon Xish is saying, where can I get your calculator? So you can get our calculator at chopmymortgage.com. In fact, I'm going to write that down for you guys so that you guys know what site that is. chopmymortgage.com. There we go. chopmymortgage.com. If you go there, you'll actually get a calculator, and you'll also get a free ebook sort of explaining to you guys how this strategy works. So chopmymortgage.com, you guys will be able to get our calculator as well as our ebook for you to better understand our strategy. Cool? Okay, RX David 2012 is asking, should I save my cash now and buy my rental during the recession or pay off my mortgage? So David, I just did a video released yesterday called Should I Pay Off My Mortgage or Should I Invest? Now, I give a really good example, illustration as to when the market is doing really well, this is a great time for you to start paying off your debt, recouping some liquidity, get some more cash into your financial system. During a recession, during a bear market, that's a better time to go and buy, expand, get yourself into some rental properties and some investment and assets. So that's typically what I would say. Now, there are exceptions to that rule, of course. Doesn't mean that there's zero opportunities during a market boom. There's going to be less opportunities, and it's going to be harder for you to go and look for those opportunities. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy anything. There are still ways to buy rental properties today. You just have to be extra picky, and you have to go look for those rare deals that are going to be, they're going to be a home run, right? So make sure you do your analysis correctly, be picky, and just pay attention to what the economy is doing. Okay, just get the context of everything before you start buying and using our strategies. Okay. Let's see. Craig Burns is asking, hopefully this relates to topic. What is the difference of doing owner financing versus lease option? And is there a certain time to use one or the other? Fantastic question. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and illustrate to you guys and do a comparison. I'm going to use black for this. So I'm going to do a little a table here. So here's your owner financing. Now, this is kind of a trick question, or I should say, yeah, it is a trick question because lease option can be part of owner financing. So lease option, the way that you would use it depends on how you structure it. It could be considered owner financing. So instead of using owner financing, the terminology of owner financing, I'm going to use a different terminology because it might throw off people. I'm going to use the typical term that we use around here in the Kwak Brothers, the way that we buy real estate, is we call this contract for deed. Now, in certain states, they call this a land contract. We call it for a contract for deed. Other states call it the agreement for deed. There's different names to it, but us, we call it contract for deed. On the other side, let's go and put in the lease option. Okay. Now, lease option is actually shortened version of lease with an option. Okay. So it's not just lease option. It's the shortened form of lease with an option. So On a contract for deed, you get the deed after you pay off. So you get deed after you cash out the seller. So you don't get the deed right away, okay? Your interest in that real estate is secured by the contract, a promise that the seller will give you the deed after you pay the seller off completely, okay? Whatever that purchase price or the principal balance is. With the contract for deed, you have, you build equity right away. Okay? And technically, when you go and refinance with a bank, let's say you were on contract for deed, you were on a seller financing, let's say you decide to go get bank financing in place of the contract for deed. Well, technically, it's not a refinance. In the eyes of the banks will see this as a purchase because you never had the deed in your name. So when you go in and do a purchase loan with the bank, what's nice is that you may not have to do a down payment because you already built that much equity with the seller. And the contract also locks in the purchase price so that in the future, let's say 5 years or 7 years down the road, you are locked in with the price. Now, similarly with the lease with an option, you get the deed. Let me erase that. Get deed at the purchase. Okay? Now, in some arrangements, when you do a lease with an option, you may get equity, but in most case time, you don't build equity. Okay? This is simply you are leasing that property with an option to buy at a later date. So the option locks in the price of that real estate for how many years. Now, most options are going to be 2 to 3 years. More commonly, I've seen options that are 5 years, very rare. But most options that I've seen in my own experience has been anywhere between 2 to 3 years. The option agreement only gives you the rights to purchase this property at a later date with a set price at a set term. So it's kind of like, hey, I'm gonna buy this real estate later with the following terms, but I'm not gonna actually buy it now. But what I'm gonna do right now is do a lease. I'm just gonna rent it from you, and we're gonna do a master lease where I can sublease this out to another tenant. Okay, that's the only difference. So the difference is with the contract for deed, yes, both of the scenario you do monthly payments. Okay, monthly payments. Same thing here, you do monthly payments. The difference is on this side, you actually start to collect the equity, and you have a set term, fully executed purchase. On the lease option, it's not really a purchase per se. It's just a promise that you will buy at a later date. With the lease option, you're typically going to also do an option fee, which that option fee, depending on which state you're in, I know Texas is different, but depending on the state, this option fee may be non-refundable, so you may not even get the option fee back. Certain states, there are state laws where the optionor has to give you the option fee back to you. Okay, again, it depends on which state. You may have to consult with an attorney about it, but in a contract for deed, you're doing an actual down payment, and that down payment affects the principal balance of what you're trying to pay off. So contract for deed, I like it when I'm trying to buy a property because I want the equity right away, right off the bat. Now, when I'm selling a property, I like the lease option because I'm not giving away any of my equity. I'm collecting my option fee. I'm getting the lease in the meantime. Now, the only problem with the challenge of the lease option is that you are still the landlord. And when you're still the landlord, you're still responsible for the maintenance, capital improvement, and you're responsible for all that. On the contract for deed, okay, when you sell it on a contract for deed, you're not responsible. But when you buy it on a contract for deed, because you are acting as an owner, you are responsible for the repairs as well. Okay, in both scenarios, you're going to be responsible for something. So When buying, I like using contract for deed. When selling, I like lease option because it gives me more cash up front and I'm sacrificing less. Okay? All right. I hope that answers your question. Let's see who asked that question here. Craig, yeah. Hope that answers your question, Craig. And that's a good comparison that I would have to say. Daniel might have a different perspective, but that's just my own experience that I'm giving you guys. Okay? All right, next question. Zenaida is asking, hi Sam, if I use my HELOC to add $200 to my monthly mortgage, that may help me. That may also help, right? Yes, absolutely. I would say just throw that $200 into your HELOC, not the mortgage. Let the HELOC take care of the mortgage balance. Just throw the extra money into the HELOC, paying off the HELOC balance as fast as possible. Okay. Las Vegas Legacy Home is asking, what is the phone number? Las Vegas Legacy Homes, I don't know if you're part of our program. I don't know if you're part of our course. If you are, you should have gotten an email from me on Monday with the hotline number. If you are not part of our program, do consider joining our program. You can go and check it out at 0to75units.com/webinar, or you can go and check out debtfreeaccelerator.com/webinar, and it will give you some more information about how our program works. Okay. Steve Fernandez is asking, I am new to this, but I was going to get some cash out during doing a refinance at 3.25% and getting $75,000 for investing, or do you think I should do a HELOC? So there's two schools of thoughts with that, and that question's from Steve Fernandez. So refinancing, again, is another strategy where you have to be careful with the timing of things. Right now, okay, and I'm gonna use the whiteboard again here. Right now, the home value, okay, we're gonna call this value, and this is time, okay? And let's say this is 2015 and this is 2019. Right now, the home value went sort of like this, right? Now, with the home value going up, right now I believe that the next thing that's gonna happen, okay, sometime in 2020, 2021, and again, I don't have a crystal ball to tell you guys this. This is just my prediction based on facts and statistics that we've been gathering. But I believe the next thing that we're gonna see here in 2020 and on is we're gonna see something that goes like this. Okay. Now, when you borrow, I'm gonna use a different color for this one. When you borrow right here, okay, let's say your home value was $200,000, or let's make this easy. Let's say you borrowed $200,000 and did a cash out refinance at this point in time, okay? But your home value is, let's say, $250,000. I'm just gonna pick a random number, okay? So out of $250,000 home value, you borrowed $200,000. Now, what happens if your home value drops to 175, 2 years or 1 year from now? Okay, let's say you're at 175 now, and your loan barely paid off at, let's say, 190,000. You actually now owe more than what your home value is. This is a classic example being underwater. So when you're doing a refinance, be careful how much you refinance, because you don't know how much home value you're gonna see it drop when a recession happens or when a correction happens. Because when you owe more than what your home value is worth, the banks are gonna call you and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, you're underwater. Please pay up $25,000 or $30,000 to come solvent with the terms of your mortgage or your note. So this is something that you need to consider. Do I want to do a refinance right now when I'm anticipating something like this happen? No, right? But I'm not telling you not to refinance, but what I'm telling you is make sure that you're within the radar, the safety zone of how much you're actually borrowing. Don't jack up and borrow 80% of your home value. Please don't do that, okay? My safe range would be borrow up to 30% of what your home value is if you're gonna go and buy income producing assets. Don't go borrow to buy a boat or a flat screen TV. Okay, don't do that. That would be foolish. But I am an advocate of borrowing for the sake of buying income-producing assets that's going to give you cash flow and that's going to generate wealth for you for the long run. Okay, so if you're going to do this, I would probably do it on as a HELOC and use only 30% of it. Okay, we do have a caller that's calling in. Hello, this is Sam Kwak. You're live on YouTube. Oh, we have a scam caller here. That's funny. That's funny. Okay, so not a real caller. It was one of those advertising callers. But so to answer your question, Steve Fernandez, if you are gonna get HELOC, just be wary of this. There's a timing for everything, and then the timing right now is don't go aggressive. Don't go borrow a crap ton of money. Borrow just a tad, where you're gonna be within the safety zone, so to speak. Okay. All right, Kedig is asking, hello guys, in a 15-year loan, I saw something with you guys on how to pay it off early. Thanks, Keith. So Keith, do watch our video, how to pay off your mortgage within 5 to 7 years. That's what most people watch to come watch our live show. So that video is floating around somewhere. I don't know if it's in our link description down below, but if you search how to pay off your mortgage in 5 to 7 years, you'll see one of our videos pop up, and actually we're top 3, I believe, in the search rankings. So go and watch that video. I'm gonna explain to you guys how to pay off a mortgage, whether you have a 30-year mortgage or a 15-year mortgage, faster within 5 to 7 years. Okay. AG47 is asking, does it matter if HELOC is in second position? It could matter depending on our situation. Again, a lot of the answer that I'm going to give you guys is it depends on your situation. It depends on how your first position mortgage is structured. It depends on what your cash flow looks like. It depends on what the market will be doing the next 2 to 3 years. So there's a lot of variables that drive the answer to the question. Now, my preference right now will be to do a first position home equity line of credit, mainly because the first position HELOC can help you sort of mitigate any possible chance of a foreclosure or or any sort of freezing or stopping of the HELOC during a recession period. So my preference will be the timing right now, I would say, is the first position HELOC or the all-in-one loan. So that's usually what I would give you as far as the answer based on what the market's doing right now. But again, in your situation, who knows? Your situation may call for a second position HELOC. Our course in our program teaches you that, determining what type of HELOC you'll need. So if you're part of our program, go watch, I believe, Unit 5 or Unit 4 of the masterclass. But if you are not part of the program, do consider signing up because we share a lot on how to determine different variables in your situation. Okay. Yeah, Top Secret Bear is scam calls are out of control. I get 10 a day. If you guys get a lot of scam calls, make sure you register your number at the do not call list. There's a national database that you can register for. And even when you register for the do not call list, if they still call you, they are violating your rights. So one thing that you can do is if you are irritated or if you're being harassed, you can take all their calls and write down and create a log as to when they called and take their phone number down, and then you can file a complaint. And I believe that's Telephone Consumer Protection Act, TCPA regulates that. So make sure, if you're being harassed, that is, you can follow the guidelines of TCPA, Telephone Consumer Protections Act. It's a law that protects the consumers from harassment calls and just bad marketing in general. Okay. Okay. RX David 2012 is asking, do Kwak Brothers buy cash flow properties with a HELOC? Yes, we do. We love buying properties with a line of credit. Again, it comes down to timing. When do we buy the property is the question at hand, right? We don't buy properties. We don't go crazy and buy properties during an economic boom because all the prices of real estate is really, really high. So we don't want to buy things when they're really high, knowing that in a few years, there's going to be a correction or recession, and the same property may experience a drop in the value. Okay, so it all comes out to timing, guys. Timing is everything when it comes to using a strategy. Okay. All right, let's see. We're 11:29 Central Time. Anyone else have questions, guys? We're taking in more questions. Also, if you guys are a part of the program, you should have gotten an email from me on Monday with a phone number, or check our secret Facebook group where I do leave our phone number there, where you can go and call in if you're a part of our program. We'd love to answer some questions in real time. Okay. Alrighty, guys. So, which by the way, next week on Monday, I'll be back to do the real estate investing Q&A, since Daniel will be gone for another week as well. So we're gonna go and answer some questions in the world of multifamily, real estate investing, anything that you may have. So we'll keep an eye on for more questions here. Not sure if you have any so far. Okay. All right, so I'm not seeing any more questions here. So just kind of give you guys sharing what Daniel and I are working on. I guess we could turn this into a little mini blog until I see more questions. But Daniel and I are working on, we're acquiring a 200 unit portfolio, 200, actually it's more like 200 single family. We interchange the unit and if it's single family, we interchange the terms. But we're working on acquiring 200 single family houses right now. Daniel is putting together a private fund, and he's working on that deal.
My name is Sal, and I have a question.
Sure.
Um, so, if I have a line of credit that is big enough to pay off the entire mortgage,
Okay.
would that be an advisable step to pay off the entire mortgage and then pay only the HELOC payments?
I'm sorry, say that again. There was a little bit of background noise there.
So the line of credit that I have on my property is big enough to pay off my mortgage.
Okay, so you have a home equity line of credit that's big enough to pay for your mortgage. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the question there? Is the question, should I do it or should I not do it?
Yeah, that's the question. Like, should I pay off my mortgage
Okay.
by taking the money out of my HELOC and then make regular payments to my HELOC?
Yep. So seeing that you have our phone number, you're part of our course. Is that right?
Hey Sam, repeat the question.
Yes.
I can't really hear him.
Okay. So if you run through the calculator that you have, you should be able to compare the difference of time and money that you're saving. if you do a first position home equity line of credit versus a second position home equity line of credit doing more of the chunk method. So have you gone in and compared the two results to see which one saves you more money and time?
No, I have not done that.
Yeah, so that's what I would do, because I wouldn't know I wouldn't know how to answer that question unless the numbers are there, right? I mean, the answer is whichever one that saves you the most amount of time and money. And looking at the context, also, what's going to put you in a safe position in case something goes wrong. So I would first look at how much money and time it's saving you, doing that comparison, and then making my decision from there.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
All righty. I hope that answers your question.
Bye-bye.
All right, thanks. All right, wonderful, guys. I hope we got audio. Okay, so Eric is saying we have audio again. Audio is back. I just dropped my phone. So that's good. So you guys can go ahead and go and type in your questions for those who are not part of our program. For those who are part of the program, I even announced it on our secret Facebook page or group of the phone number as well as the time. So for those who are part of the program, our phone line is open. Are you guys hearing the speakerphone okay? I just want to make sure that the speaker phone, the audio from the phone is being heard on YouTube. So let's go and answer some questions. We have Ronan Quinn who says, in Ireland, but what is the best, okay, so Ronan's from Ireland, awesome. What is the best way to invest in real estate for first rental, best way to raise capital to be able to borrow money for apartment? So Ronan, I'm not sure what the laws and the process and the regulation look like in Ireland, but I do know Ireland is part of the Commonwealth nation, and a lot of the Commonwealth countries have same law, similar law. So like here in the United States and England, we have similar laws as far as property ownership, banking, finance, and there's a lot of similarities in terms of the law. So I can only answer that question from the angle and the standpoint of the United States laws and regulations and processes. We do have a video on YouTube called How to Buy Your First Rental Property. You may want to check that out. I'll go ahead and leave that link down below after I'm done with it live here. But we do have a separate video that answers that question. But I do want to answer your question directly. One of the first things you can do to raise capital to be able to get into your first real estate deal is first invest in yourself. And what I mean by investing in yourself is get educated, right? Read as much book as possible. Now, Ronan, if you're wanting to invest in Ireland, again, I don't know the whole situation in Ireland, but if you do want to invest here in the United States, what I can tell you is the first thing is you're going to go and invest in yourself. There's 4 currencies that we all need to understand. And I think people are stuck, like a lot of people who want to get into real estate investing are stuck with this idea like, oh, I don't have money, I don't have credit, therefore I can't invest or I can't get into the business of real estate investing, which is completely baloney. There is a way to get into real estate investing without either money or credit. The first thing you need to understand is that there's 4 currencies: money, knowledge, time, and relationships. Okay, I'm gonna go and divide those into a 4 matrix. Now, a lot of people get stuck with the fact that I don't have enough money, right? I'm like, oh man, I'm totally stuck without money, therefore I don't know how to invest in real estate, or I don't know what to do. Now, if you have knowledge, the question is, wouldn't you be able to trade your knowledge in some time for you to be able to make money? Like doctors, right? Doctors, they have special knowledge, right? They know how to perform surgery, they know how to diagnose your illness, they know how to give you the right medicine, prescribe you the right medicine. They have that knowledge, and they're, of course, spending time in the hospital treating different patients. Those 2 combination reflects the compensation that the doctor earns, right? Same thing with real estate investing is if you have the knowledge, the specialized knowledge as far as how to put deals together, how to negotiate for owner financing, how to go raise capital, wouldn't you be able to go and find that money to do your deal, right? Now, the principle of the 4 currencies is that you can trade different currencies in combination for whatever. So I just gave you the example of the doctor who has special knowledge, who's got time, of course, and time is a common denominator. Everyone has time, okay? If you tell me that you don't have time, well, too bad. Everyone's got 24 hours. We all have equal playing field there. relationship is another big factor as well, right? Because in order for the doctor to have worked in the hospital, he or she would have had to build a relationship with whoever is the administrator of that hospital for the hospital to hire that doctor. So relationship is a mandatory thing. So money is really a byproduct of these three things lined up in a specific applicable way, and money shows up. Now, let's think of the reverse. Can we take money and trade it for more knowledge? Absolutely, right? We can go and take money, buy courses, get into training programs, coaching programs. Same is true with relationships. Can you buy your way into special memberships and clubs? Absolutely, right? If you have $50,000, you can go buy a $50,000 golf course membership, and you can get in relationships of people that have money. Now, I'm not telling you guys to go do that, right? It's just an example that I've seen people do. But if you feel like, man, I need to raise money, I need to be able to do my first deal. My first thing, my first go-to is always these two things. Okay, I'm gonna put a star. That's a terrible looking star, by the way. So, relationship and knowledge are the two things that you should focus on and spend most of your time. Trade your time for relationships and knowledge. This will happen when you align these two together. Now, money gets created when you put value in front of these two things, okay? So the way that my brother and I first got into real estate investing as well as raising capital was we started going out investing in knowledge. We took whatever money we had. In fact, we had a DJ business a while back. I could tell you all about that later, but we sold our DJ business, took that money we had and bought ourselves an education program and went to different seminars, bought different books. We invested a lot in knowledge. So the first thing we did is we took money, invested in knowledge. And it wasn't a whole lot of money either. It wasn't like millions of dollars, right? It was the little money that we had, invested in knowledge, and we're like, holy smokes, we now know how to go make some more money, right? It's kind of like investing in a fishing lesson. Okay, now we know how to catch fish. We don't have to ever go buy fish anymore. We can just go and figure out how to catch our own fish and feed ourselves. So we went and got knowledge, and then at the same time we were working on our relationship. So we attended networking events. We started going to different places. And I do have a phone call. Let's go and take the phone call and answer some question. All right, you are live on YouTube. This is Sam here. Oh, hold on. There we go. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yep, I can hear you.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I am doing phenomenal. So how can I help you and what question can I answer?
I'm in New York, and I see that you have the all-in-one. There's like a $5,000 fee to do that.
Yep.
Is there like a better way? Because like if you're trying to get out of debt,
Sure.
you know, for you to come up with $5,000.
Yep.
You know.
So that's actually the number one objection, I should say, when it comes to the all-in-one loan is the closing fee there's a closing fee. It's a nominal closing fee, and my justification for the closing fee is this. And by the way, I don't make any money off of all-in-one loan. I'm not a banker. I'm not a loan officer. I don't broker loans. All I do is I teach people how to get into these financial strategies and help them out. So there's no incentive for me to tell you go get an all-in-one loan, right? I don't make money off of it. But here's a trade-off, and I know a couple people have paid $3,000, $4,000. I know in this case you're paying $5,000 for the all-in-one loan closing costs. My justification for that is this. When you use a traditional home equity line of credit, just a regular HELOC where there's virtually no closing cost, when you use a home equity line of credit, you have to move the money back and forth from your checking account and then paying your bills, and the process, it could be tedious when compared to doing an all-in-one loan. Now, with an all-in-one loan, whatever money is sitting in your checking account, it automatically sweeps into your home equity line of credit side, so that you don't have to do any of the work, right? You don't have to manually transfer it over. You don't have to open your laptop or your app to go and transfer the money over. Now, whenever you transfer the money back and forth, it's gonna take time. And for us, time can be a very precious resource because there's limited amount of time. So you sort of have to think of it this way. You're going to be in this strategy for, it could be anywhere between 3 to up to 12 years or sometimes up to 15 years. All the time that you're going to spend on doing those manual transfer between home equity line of credit and your checking account, that's a lot of time, right? If you add all the time together, so you'd have to weigh that option. Do I want to spend all that time moving money back and forth on the home equity line of credit, which isn't a lot, but when compared to doing an all-in-one loan where it's more automated, it could save you some time as well. Now another thing is the all-in-one loan is a 30-year draw, meaning you don't have to go back if you're using a traditional home equity line of credit. Typically with a traditional home equity line of credit, it's a 10-year draw with a 20-year repayment period. So what that means is if you need your home equity line of credit more than 10 years, you're gonna have to go back to the bank and reapply. And there's always a chance where you can get denied. But of course, if you're using this strategy, you should have almost no chance that you're gonna be denied because you're paying down the principal balance super low or super fast. So if you need your home equity line of credit for more than 10 years, you have to think about this. With the all-in-one loan, you get 30-year draw. To get the similar features as the all-in-one loan, and if you're planning on using a traditional home equity line of credit, that means you would have to reapply for the home equity loan line of credit 2 more times, which means you're gonna have to pay the little to no closing costs with the home equity line of credit 2 more times, and you have to go through that process 2 more times. Now, in that process, you may have to get the home reappraised. You may have to do other fees that might not be applicable. So if you add all that up, when you do a apples to apple comparison, you may actually end up paying close to the same amount with your traditional home equity line of credit versus your all-in-one loan. Does that make sense?
Yes and no, because what it is, I'm looking at a ELOC at a credit union in New York.
Okay.
And their APR is 2.99 for 24 months. It's fixed.
Right.
And there's no closing cost. All I have to pay is $150 for appraisal fee.
Right.
So I'm thinking, if I have my American Express and I put all my bills on my American Express, and then once a month I just transfer the money to pay the American Express.
Yeah.
Then that should work, right?
Yeah, that'll work. And again, the decision has to be up to you. In a technical sense, that's gonna work just fine. The only thing that you'd have to consider is moving that money back and forth again. With the American Express that one time. It's not automated. You do have to do it manually, but it is absolutely a minimal amount of work if you're only having to move that money one time. So yeah, that's gonna work just fine. And again, I'm not forcing the all-in-one loan on anybody. It all comes down to, does it work for you? Is it convenient? Because if it's not convenient, it's very easy for you to drop off the strategy. The key here is it's gotta be consistent, it's gonna be easy to use, and you gotta be on track, and you gotta be disciplined. So if that works for you, perfect, phenomenal.
I'm not gonna be in debt for the next 30 years. The whole point of this program is to be out by 10 years.
Absolutely.
You know?
No, now the only reason why you're gonna need that 30 years is do you want to get into real estate investing in the future?
Well, that I understand.
Yeah. So it's a flexibility thing.
And that I'm looking into that, but I want to strategize my personal debt first and then move into that. Yeah.
No, that's perfectly fine. Again, it's all about the goals. It's to someone, a decision may seem stupid or foolish, but if it aligns with their goals and their ultimate goal is, saves them money, gives them more passive income, then great. Now, you may have a different goal where that decision you may not want to make that decision, or you may want to take a different route. So for you, if it works and if it aligns with your goal, what you want to achieve, then perfect. Whatever aligns with your goal at the most safest way to do it, at the same time the most effective way to do it, that's where we want to be at.
Okay.
Yep.
I want to thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because you've changed my mind about a lot of things, just reading
Awesome.
your literature, and I mean, eventually I know I'm going to be owning a lot of rental properties. That's my goal.
Yeah.
But my mind, it's changed my whole mindset on how I spend money.
Wonderful. I appreciate your kind words, and and this is the reason why we do these lives, right? We do these live videos because we want to help people have a paradigm shift with their money, and I appreciate and I love seeing people's lives being impacted. So thank you so much for calling in and asking your question and chiming in for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When I get debt free, Sam, I'm calling you to let you know.
Yep.
It's zero.
Perfect. All right. Sounds like a plan.
All right. Okay.
Awesome. Take care now.
All right, you too. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. All right, wonderful. So, so back to the topic, and I appreciate you calling in all the way from New York. Amazing story, and I love seeing people's lives transform. This is the only reason why we do these lives. I mean, if it's not, I can just go and spend my time elsewhere. But seeing that, we're actually seeing impact in people's mindset, the knowledge, right? That's really important. So, back to the topic at hand. When my brother and I first started, we took the money, traded for knowledge, spent some time building relationships, and ultimately, guys, these relationships, they may have currency that you don't have. So my brother and I were always looking for individuals that have currencies that we don't have. We want to build relationships with people that have other specialized knowledge. Right now, we are working with, I don't know if I want to mention the name, but we're working with someone that's an expert in building a software. And this individual has a specialized knowledge in building software. So where he comes into play is he comes into our team, helps us build an amazing software, and that's where the relationship currency comes from, right? I could have just gone and traded my time and some money to know what he knows, but why should I do that when I already there's a relationship, there's someone that already has mastered that knowledge, and I can just have that individual work with me. And of course, what that person is getting out of that relationship is, of course, I'm paying the person, and there's the relationship that he also gets access to from my own relationship. So the economy of different currency exchange, you have to understand this. If you don't understand this, it's going to be very hard for you to make money, okay? Because a lot of times, wealthy individuals know that you need to have knowledge, you need to have a relationship, you need to be able to leverage different currencies to be able to make more money. Now, ultimately, the goal is to have lots of this so that you can trade the money for more time, because time it's limited. Okay, you can make trillions of dollars. Okay, you can make Brazilians of dollars. That's great, but you can't make Brazilians of time. Okay, our days are numbered. We're all gonna turn into dust, and right, we're gonna be dead one day. So we need to invest more into getting our time back. That's why we invest in real estate. That's why we invest in more knowledge and relationships, so ultimately we can make more money and then we can trade our money for more time. A lot of you guys might be doing the opposite, right? A lot of you guys are trading your time for money, okay? Hoping that this is just a result. Because a lot of us see knowledge as just a process. We see a degree. We see a 4-year degree. We're like, oh, we're done with knowledge. We went to college. We got a master's degree or we got a doctor's degree. We're done with the knowledge. Knowledge always, you need to constantly invest in knowledge every single day. Okay? That's why we have books for you guys to read, right? 0 to 75 units in just 1 year. You guys can check that out. By the way, we're giving this book out for absolutely free. Okay? The only thing you have to pay for is shipping, and we'll ship it out to you. Go to 0 to 75units.com. The actual number 0 to 75units.com, and we'll ship one out, a book for free, absolutely for free. We're not going to charge you money for it. You just need to pay for shipping. But guys, learning should never stop. Building relationships should never stop, because when these two things stop growing for you, so will this. Okay? If you don't invest in your knowledge and your relationship, money will stop. And when money stops, you being able to buy your time back stops. So if you, to sort of answer Ronan, I know we spent a lot of time in this question because this is so fundamental. This is super duper important. If you don't understand this, any other strategy we throw at you, you will not get, and it'll be useless, it'll be futile, and it won't mean anything. So I wanted to cover this because it's a foundation. We don't build houses on sand, we build houses on foundation. So we want to make sure that you guys understand the concept of the four currency, because if you don't, you're gonna have a hard time figuring out how to grow and build your business. Okay, let's go ahead and answer some more question. Joe Giorbolini is asking, what's your opinion on acquiring single-family houses in the Detroit market since single-family houses are going for $20,000 to $50,000? Okay, so I'm gonna be honest here, guys. I don't know anything about Detroit other than the fact that it is a tough city. There's a lot of challenge. I'll just put it this way: Detroit has a lot of room for growth. Okay, Detroit has a lot of room for improvement, which has its opportunities. Now, I have bought houses that range in that price figure, right? Joe's asking about $20,000 homes to $50,000 home. Now, the challenge with $20,000 to $50,000 homes is that it may be cheap. It's easy to get in, okay? But it's really hard to maintain, okay? So one thing that I figured out is there's a reason why it costs $20,000. There's a reason why the property is worth $50,000. And that is because it's got a lot of deferred maintenance. So you're gonna have to pay for the price, for the real price of the home one way or the other. And what I mean by that is you're gonna get into a home, let's say for $20,000, okay? But in actuality, you're gonna have to spend another $20,000 to $30,000 in the span of the next 2 to 3 years on repairing the doggone thing. Okay, I'll give you an example. I bought a house for $25,000. I spent, let's see, $4,000 on the roof, $2,000 on the porch, couple more $1,000 on just fixing that thing. The heater went out, so I spent another $5,000. So there's a lot of ongoing maintenance, and expect for no cash flow for at least 2 to 3 years. You're gonna spend a lot of money on fixing it and investing in new capital improvement. So that's how I feel. So even though your acquisition cost may be only $20,000 to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, expect another $30,000 on the back end, have a lot of cash available or credit available for you to be able to fix it. And once you fix it, repair it, make it nice and improve it, then go ahead and expect some cash flow and positive yield, because it's sort of the price. The price has to justify the maintenance, right? So if there's a lot of deferred maintenance, yeah, you're gonna have to pay. You can pay a lower cost, but just expect to pay another $20,000, $30,000 on top of that for maintenance. I hope that answers the question. Joe is asking another question. Any city you recommend us pay attention for with good cash flow and properties that are cheaper? Now, I sort of have a love and hate for that question. Now, I love the question because you're looking and you're figuring out which cities, which market to go with. Now, it's kind of like me giving you the fish versus me teaching you how to fish. Now, when Daniel's back, he's gonna teach you how to do some market research. Daniel is really good at researching markets. So rather than trying to figure out, okay, what city is a good place to invest, ask the question, how do I go about the research, right? How do I research these good cities? Let me give you an example. Richmond is an area that we've been investing for quite a while now, Richmond, Virginia. And the reason is Daniel did some research, and Daniel concluded that Richmond has a very strong appreciation, number one, has a lot of migration, positive migration into Richmond, Virginia. And those that are migrating into Richmond, we're seeing wealthier individuals moving in to Richmond area. So that's one of the factors and leading variable as to why we decided to go with Richmond to invest there, to do fix and flips and development projects. We are also investing in another city in Indiana, which we found out that they're putting in a couple $100 million of infrastructure investment, as well as there's a major college there. So instead of trying to figure out, okay, which city is hot right now, like at this given moment, figure out how to do the research, because these cities are gonna change all the time. Okay, Chicago, where I live, used to be a hot city to invest in. Okay, not much anymore. I mean, there's still opportunities for sure, but it's not the hottest, quote unquote. And I sure wouldn't put it on a top 10 list. But these cities, these hot cities, are going to change all the time. You have to figure out how to do the market research. And this is, remember, going back to the 4 currencies, invest in that knowledge. Invest in how you can go about researching for these economic hot zones where you can invest and have some positive yields. Okay. Fernando's asking, what if the best form what if the best form to create LLC structure to accomplish inside and outside protection and I can't say this word, anonymity for the purpose of real estate buy and hold rentals. So I'm guessing Fernando is asking what is the best form, best way? The best way for you guys to go and create an LLC is to consult with an attorney, guys. I'm not gonna give any legal advice here, but go in and invest that time with an attorney. I know it's gonna cost money. Yes, you're gonna have to spend a couple $100, but guys, that couple $100 is an investment. You're paying it forward for your own protection, okay? If you get into a lawsuit, it's not gonna cost you a couple $100. It's gonna cost you thousands of dollars, perhaps even millions. I've talked to an individual who's got a $1 million judgment. Guys, not a very good, bright situation, okay? This individual has to have their wage garnished, all because they didn't talk to an attorney before they engaged in a deal, okay? Just a couple $100. And I don't get paid to tell you that, right? So guys, go talk to an attorney who's licensed, who's competent, and who practices law within the real estate realm. So make sure you have a conversation with an asset protection attorney. Figure out which entity is right for you. You may not need an LLC. You may need a living trust. Maybe you need some more deeper estate planning. Maybe you need an LLP, a limited liability partnership. Who knows? So have a conversation with an attorney to figure out which entity is the right fit for you based on your situation, your goals, okay? Justin Hodge is asking, can I take over a short sale property